Hello, we're going to do a video on recording for the final. Okay, reviewing for the final. Okay, we've done a little bit of everything since classes started this semester. Anyway, one of the first things we went over when classes started was we went over sets. Okay, unions, intersections, and complements of sets, and subsets. So, let's say the set U is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and A is 1, 3, 5. B is 2, 3, 5, and 8. Now let's find A union B. That means all of A and all of B would be 1, 2, 3, 5, 8. And if U is 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, A is 1, 2, 3, 5, B is 2, 4, 6, A intersect B, or A and B meets, is just 2. And if they didn't have anything in common, it'll be just the empty set. So we could let U be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and A is 1, 3, 4, 5. Find A prime. That's everything in the U except A. So if you eliminate 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 4, 5 from U, that will leave you with 2 and 6. Okay, so you take out 1, 3, 4, 5, and it leaves you 2 and 6. And if U is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A is 1, 2, 4. N of A means how many elements is inside A is 3. Alright, now that's what we talked about with sets. Now let's say that people were surveyed as to what detergents they use. Okay, let's say 300 women were surveyed. Regarding detergents they used. Okay, 50 used Tide. And let's say 100 used OxiClean, and 30 used Whisk. and then 20 used whisk and Tide, and 15 used whisk and OxiClean. And 10 used Tide and OxiClean. And let's say 5 use all 3. Okay, now okay, you had 300 women surveyed, and 50 used Tide, 100 use OxiClean, 30 used whisk. 20 used whisk and Tide. And 15 used whisk and OxiClean. And 15 used whisk and OxiClean, and 20 used whisk and Tide, 10 used Tide and OxiClean. If I've used all 3. Okay, here's Tide. OxiClean. And whisk. Okay, now 5 use all 3, so that goes in the very center. 10 use Tide and OxiClean, so 10 minus 5 is 5. 15 use whisk and OxiClean, so 15 minus 5 is 10. 20 use whisk and Tide, so that'd be 15. And 30 use whisk, so 10 and 15 is 25 and 5, so 0 use whisk only. Okay, 100 use OxiClean, so you have 10 and 5 is 15, and 5 is 20, so it'd be 80 use OxiClean only. And 50 use Tide, so 15 and 5 is 20, and 25, so that'll be 25 use Tide only. Okay, there's 300 women altogether, so if you add all these up, 25 and 5 is 30. 30 and 80 is what? Is 110 plus 10 is 120, plus 5 is 125, plus 15 is 140, so 300 minus 140 is 160, so 160 women don't use any of the 3. Okay, so if they ask you how many use Tide only, it would be 25 used Tide only. How many used whisk and OxiClean but not Tide, it would be 10. 10 used whisk and OxiClean but not Tide. Okay, and not Tide. Alright, now that's a Venn diagram. That's something we did early in the semester. Okay, and another thing we've done is probability problems, like the probability of one thing happening. If we know the probability of it raining, what is the probability it won't rain? That is 0.8. Okay, now let's say that I have a bag with 3 orange balls, 2 white balls, and 1 green ball. If I draw out 2 balls with no replacement, okay, you have 3 orange balls, 2 white balls, and 1 green ball. If I draw 2 balls without replacement, what is the probability? Both are orange. Okay, it's a probability. The first one's orange times the probability. The second one's orange. This is and probability. Okay, an orange ball and an orange ball. When you have and, you multiply them together. The probability, the first one's orange times the probability, the second one's orange. Okay, so you have 3 orange balls, 2 white balls, and a green ball. So it'll be 6 balls. 3 and 2 is 5 and 1 more 6. The probability the first one's orange will be 3, 6. And then you have 1 missing orange ball, will be 2 orange ones out of 5, which would be 1/2 times 2/5, which is 1/5. Okay, so that's without replacement. Now, what if it's with replacement? Probability of both orange balls. 3 orange balls, 2 white balls, and a green ball. Okay, probability both are orange. That's a probability the first one's orange times the probability the second one's orange. Okay, so the first one's orange would be 3/6. And if it's with replacement, it would be 3/6 again, which is 1/2 times 1/2, which is 1/4. Okay, now another thing we've gone over is interest. Okay, simple interest, compound interest. If I borrow $850 at 6% interest for 8 months, how much do I need to repay back? Okay, interest is the principal times the rate times the time. So it's 850 times 0.06 times 8/12. Okay, it'll be $34. Okay, so you got to pay back the interest, which is $34 plus the principal. So it'll be $850 plus 34. It'll be $884. $884 is what has to be paid back. Now, what if it's compound interest? Compound interest is compounded more than once. So the total amount is the principal times 1 plus the interest rate divided by times is compounded to the n times t power. Okay, so if I borrow $2,000 at 4% interest, compounded semi-annually, for 3 years, then you use this formula here. Okay, so the total amount is the principal times 1 plus the interest rate over n to the nt power. Okay, so the total amount is how much you borrow. Say it's $2,000. Okay, times 1 plus the interest rate, 0.06. If it's compounded, let's say quarterly, to the power of 4 times the number of years. Let's say 6 years. Which is what? Okay, if you borrowed $2,000 at 6% interest compounded quarterly for 6 years, it would be 2,859 $2,859 is what you have to borrow. And we also did, what else did we do? The metric system. 500 centimeters is how many meters? You divide that by 100, it would be 5 meters, because you have your chart, kilo, hecto, deca, meter, liter, gram, deci, centa, milli. And 50 decameters is how many decimeters? Multiply by 100, so it'd be 50 times 100 is 5,000. And 20 millimeters is how many meters? Divide by 1,000, it'd be 0.02. Okay, 0.020 and 0.02 is the same thing. Okay, and another thing we did was dimensional analysis to change from one unit to the next. Okay, like 6 pounds is how many ounces? 16 ounces is a pound. So it would be 6 pounds times 16 ounces per pound. 6 times 16 is what? 96 ounces. Okay, I think that's all I'm going to do for today. So that's a little bit of a review for your final. I hope you learned something from this. So I'll do another review later this week. We'll try to make at least one more review, maybe 2. Okay, so if you have any questions, just send me a message. Okay, I'll see you all later.